1.1 crores for this 300-meter long stone bund. 1.2 crores for this feeder canal. 48 lakhs for what is shown as a road on paper. Examples of expenditure under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Guarantee Act. A revolution in rural India, or an open league that allows thousands of crores to be embezzled in the name of rural development. You're with headlines today. I am Simi Pasha. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to unravel a multi-crore rupee NREGA scam operating right under the nose of the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. It's a road less travelled into the heart of central India, away from the peering eyes of government agencies. Madhya Pradesh has posted an average expenditure of 2,500 crores under the MNREGA over the last 2 financial years. As the state heads into assembly elections, we travel across MP to conduct a reality check of Shivraj Singh Chouhan's claims of development and guaranteed employment. Our first stop is Balaghat, a district that has shown the highest expenditure under the central scheme, varying between 159 crores in 2011-2012 to 91 crores in the year 2012-2013. The presence of a TV crew in Belgaon draws a small crowd of curious onlookers. The village women, often breadwinners of the family, are all MNREGA card holders. A card that provides them guaranteed employment for 100 days every year. But they have no jobs, no money, and they have never heard of such a thing as an unemployment allowance, something they are entitled to in case their village panchayat fails to provide them work.
अब उधर लोड़ा तरफ भी गे रहा ना 2-4 दिन वैसे।
पर 2-4 दिन साल में?
हाँ हाँ।
उससे ज्यादा नहीं?
नहीं जी।
और आपके गांव में कोई काम हुआ है मनरेगा का?
अभी नहीं हुआ है।
पेंशन मिलती है?
नहीं।
कुछ नहीं मिलता सरकार
नहीं।
आपके घर की आमदनी कितनी होगी अगर आप दिन का लगाएं तो?
हम तो अब कितना होगा तो 400-500 महीना में।
जॉब कार्ड मिला है आपका मनरेगा का?
हाँ मिला है।
कब मिला था?
3-5-6 साल हो गए।
काम मिला है?
काम थोड़ा बहुत मिला है।
कितने दिन का?
ऐसे साल में 10 दिन 5 दिन ऐसे काम करते हैं।
With 5 children to feed, 30-year-old Hariram Vatre and his wife Lalita barely manage 2 meals a day. They are literally like the chicks Lalita feeds, a few morsels at the mercy of their masters. They have no land of their own and no permanent source of income. Their family owns an MNREGA card, but they've got nothing out of it. Hari sweeps, but his fortunes never allow the dust in his life to settle. When pushed to the brink of starvation, Hari often travels to the city in search of work.
क्या करेंगे तो इधर कुछ काम मिलता ही नहीं। अब क्या है, साल में आता है तो वो गांव में सब काम खूरते हैं तो 1-2-4 दिन का कमा लेते हैं, उसका भी बंद हो जाता है। इसलिए इधर रह के क्या करेंगे, तब चले जाते हैं उधर। अब क्या है, उसका पंचायत में रहते पंच रहते तो कुछ खबर मिलता हमको। अब पंच में भी नहीं है, कुछ ही नहीं है, पंचायत में कुछ घुस नहीं पाते।
A deaf panchayat and a blind government. There's no one that people like Hari can turn to in times of crisis. They exist as mere statistics on paper, toiling away day after day, but their efforts just a fake tick mark against their card number. As we travel deeper into the red corridor towards another village, we come across an NREGA hoarding, advertising a gravel road that's been constructed at a cost of 48.5 lakh rupees. What you see instead of a road is a narrow clearing crisscrossed by small streams, dotted with slippery stones.
बरसात की वजह से सब तो उखड़ गई रोड, सब नाले टूट गए। आने जाने की इतनी प्रॉब्लम है, साइकिल नहीं चढ़ सकती, पैदल जाना मुश्किल है।
There's no accounting for expenditure under the MNREGA in these remote areas. Several projects like this one exist only on paper. The biggest failing of UPA's flagship employment scheme has been an absence of an independent body that would inspect financial records. Till a year ago, A village panchayat and government departments which carried out these projects were in charge of auditing their own work. It's only now that efforts are being made to involve the CAG. Almost 100 kilometers away from the district capital of Balaghat, Devarbeli is perhaps one of the most remote villages of Madhya Pradesh. Yet it showed an expenditure of 42 lakh rupees on a single day under the NREGA in May last year, with nothing to show for it. Circumstances have pushed Mahadev, a resident of Devarbeli, to do something he's not supposed to. The only way he can support his family of 7 is by illegally ploughing on government land, growing cucumber and corn. Smoke fills his small thatched hut. Something's cooking, but for how long? He hopes the temporary supply of vegetables will last them till the end of the season. Once the smoke disappears, the grim reality of his life becomes all the more clear.
रोजगार की गारंटी काम तो मिले है और कार्ड तो अभी 5 साल होता है।
5 साल हो गया
जी।
कितने दिन का काम मिला आपके?
5 साल में अभी एक भी काम नहीं हुआ, खाली है।
काम नहीं मिला
जी।
और आपको पेंशन मिलती है?
नहीं।
आपको पता है कि आपको पेंशन मिलनी चाहिए?
नहीं, पता नहीं।
पंचायत पंच ने में आपको कभी बताया नहीं?
नहीं।
The residents of Devarbeli are united in misery. Mahadev's story echoes in every household. Even as on paper, authorities paint a picture of prosperity and growth. The NREGA has been designed with the idea of creating employment opportunities in rural India. The Act clearly states that all approved projects should spend 60% of the total amount on labour salaries and not more than 40% on construction material. Headlines Today has exclusively accessed documents to prove brazen disregard of the Act by local authorities in Madhya Pradesh, bending rules to siphon funds away from those who needed the most and for whom this Act was in fact created. This document shows how on the 18th of May last year, more than 42 lakhs were spent in Devarbeli village. Out of this, 36.5 lakhs were spent on construction material and only 15% on labour. On the 26th of March this year, Masgaon Panchayat of Paraswara, also in Balaghat, showed an expenditure of close to 73 lakh rupees. 90% of this money is shown as expenditure on construction material. The story repeats itself with startling frequency in every district across the state. On the 2nd of February this year, Mnrega Panchayat in Gopalpur block of Katni district showed an expenditure of 1 crore 70 lakh rupees. This entire money was spent on construction material, not a penny on labour salaries. A mad rush to show expenditure before the closing of the financial year also had Bahoriband Panchayat of Katni post an expenditure of 80 lakh rupees. The entire sum again going towards construction material. Documents available with Headlines Today show that 86 lakh rupees was spent on the 21st of January this year in Satna district of Madhya Pradesh. This entire payment is shown as administrative expenditure, which clearly violates the basic premise of the NREGA. What's worse is that the name of the village and the block are both missing from this document, leaving households like these completely in the dark. You don't have to dig too deep to discover that the MNREGA is failing to reach those who are supposed to be the end beneficiaries. In Sioni, an easy conversation at a local pawn shop reveals that most villagers have job cards but are being denied work because of local politics within the panchayat. Their life has been like an empty book, quite literally. As I look through their job cards issued 2 years ago, there's not a single days of work that has been registered.
मैडम वहाँ तो सरपंच और सचिव कुछ मिली घाट हो गई थी, जा नहीं सकता मैं मैडम अभी वहाँ पे। अब यहाँ पे जुनार में कितना काम खुलता है, क्या खुलता है मेरे को मालूम नहीं। खुलता भी तो डोंडी पिटना चाहिए यहाँ मैडम। बिल्कुल ये गलती किसकी? मेरी की गवर्नमेंट गलती है, सरपंच सचिव गलती है। बिल्कुल
गांव में काम हुआ हमको पता, पूरा फसल चल जाता है, यानी पता भी चल जाता है और नहीं भी चलता है। यानी जो अगर गए थे फाड़ निकाल जा रहे हैं उनके पीछे अपन भी लग गए, तो फिर बोलते हैं वहाँ गए काम पे थे, सचिव सरपंच बोलते हैं तुम्हारे काम ही नहीं है, काम पूरे लेबर लग गई।
सरपंच सचिव के जो टच में रहता है, जो उनसे मिले भगत में रहते हैं, उन्हीं के बीच में उन्हीं को काम मिलता है।
For a district that has shown an expenditure of 53 crores in the last financial year, the people of Sioni are extremely poor, struggling to meet basic requirements. Jivnara village in particular has several projects approved under the MNREGA, including this one approved in 2008. Headlines today has documents to prove that close to 3 crores have been spent in Devnara village under the NREGA over the last 3 years. After that, almost 1.3 crores have been spent on this dam, which is incomplete. It doesn't even have gates to hold the water in. Locals also claim that the irrigation department hired labourers from outside and did not employ local villagers for this project. Not far from the dam, this is another MNREGA project also in the same village. The hoarding with the government notification shows that 1.3 crores have been spent on it, but not even 10% of this sum has gone into salaries. The labour contractor who worked on the project tells us the actual expenditure on labour doesn't exceed 15 lakhs.
ये तालाब पुराना था और इसमें 3 हिस्सों में काम हुआ है। 1,46,000 में वहाँ से यहाँ तक, 2,96,000 में यहाँ तक, 3,68,000 में वहाँ तक, ऐसा कुछ थोड़ा बहुत अंतर होगा, लेकिन इतने में हुआ है। और इसकी पूरी रिपोर्ट और पूरी जानकारी और किताबें भी कहो तो दे दूंगा मैं।
From one district to another, from one village to the next, it's a scam waiting to be unearthed. The biggest failing of the MNREGA is that implementing bodies like the Panchayat and government departments have also been responsible for keeping a tab on expenditure, negating the idea of an objective third-party audit. We are in Budhaina Khurd village of Madhya Pradesh, and behind me is a completed NREGA project that has cost the exchequer 1 crore 22 lakh rupees according to this document available with the Ministry of Rural Development. What you see before you is a feeder canal that's supposed to provide irrigation to nearby fields, but clearly there's hardly any water here and the cost of construction is not worth 1/4 of what's been shown on paper. Barely a few kilometers away, in the same village, is another example of unnecessary expenditure under the MNREGA. This is another feeder canal, which has barely enough water to qualify as a pond.
हमारी मतलब टोटल सबकी मिला के 15-20 एकड़ ज़मीन की खेती हो सकती थी, किंतु जब इसे बनाया गया तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि इससे अभी तक तो कुछ भी मतलब प्रॉफिट नहीं हुआ है।
Village heads claim that projects that are worth more than 5 to 10 lakh rupees fall outside their jurisdiction. We then tracked down the engineer of the irrigation department who has been overseeing these projects in Sioni.
नहीं तो अब ये भी आइडिया नहीं है ना, सब रीजन हमारे यहाँ का 40 काम थे, 50 काम थे, तो मैं क्या बता सकता हूँ पूरे के बारे में।
When it comes to spending under the MNREGA, there are no questions asked and no answers given. Once in a while, there are raids carried out by the local police and Class 3 officers are found in possession of assets way beyond their known sources of income. We then travel to Dhar district, barely 70 kilometers away from Indore, the largest city of Madhya Pradesh. The proximity to an urban centre has little influence on the level of development. And here too, the MNREGA is a tool being used and abused by the system. This is a stone bund in Jalokheta village that's been constructed to block water from a stream to create this pond. Now the extent of the construction work here is this 300-meter bund that's been made out of stones and mud at a whopping cost of 1.01 crores. Another glaring example of corruption under the NREGA. The villagers who helped construct this bund have still not received their entire payment, and members of the Panchayat claim that money has clearly been embezzled. यहाँ पे टोटल खर्च जो है 1 करोड़ से ऊपर का हुआ है।
1 करोड़ ऊपर का है मैडम, ये स्वीकृति इसकी।
बट आपको लगता है काम जो हुआ है यहाँ पे 1 करोड़ के ऊपर का है?
भाई अब इतने में क्या है, इतना तो नहीं होता खर्च मैडम।
हाँ गिला जी, आपने काम किया था जब ये तालाब बन रहा था?
जी सर।
किसके लिए काम किया था?
वो ट्रैक्टर से मिट्टी डालनी और क्या।
अच्छा, ट्रैक्टर से आप मिट्टी उठा रहे थे?
हाँ सर।
और आपका पैसा मिला आपको?
सर अभी तक नहीं मिला, साल भर हो गया।
Documents exclusively available with headlines today show that crores have been spent in Dhar district. In several villages, almost 50 lakhs have been spent on something as small as a farm pond. 58 to 60 lakhs have been spent on stone bunds and 44 lakhs on an excavation project. The big question: are these projects really creating viable infrastructure on the ground, or are they an excuse to mint money?
We're in Manglia village of Dhar district, and I'm going to show you a blatant example of how NREGA funds are being wasted here in Madhya Pradesh. Behind me is a natural pond of the village, and just 100 meters away is another pond that's been artificially created for a whopping cost of 56 lakh rupees.
There are a dime a dozen examples to prove how rampant corruption and delayed payments are fast eroding the effectiveness of the MNREGA. A study carried out by Down to Earth in January this year shows that the participation of scheduled castes and tribes in the Employment Guarantee Act has gone down by half in the last 5 years.
Actually, in the first flush, a lot of SC/STs came. So it's not a question of them not wanting it. But because payments are delayed, because people are not running the scheme in those areas, because they don't have a voice, there is accountability written into the scheme and into the law all the way. But where does the buck stop for not taking action?
The report also states that Madhya Pradesh has been most badly hit when it comes to SC participation in MNREGA. The state's person days of labour has shrunk from 138 million in 2008-2009 to 21 million in 2012.
You're with headlines today and then covering the politics behind the MNREGA scam in Madhya Pradesh. It was in these corridors of power 8 years ago that our lawmakers passed a bill making way for the world's largest welfare program. But over the years, it has fallen victim to electoral politics. The centre often alleges that non-Congress ruled states neglect the MNREGA because they feel it silently works in the Congress's favour.
Huge amounts have been misappropriated by the Madhya Pradesh government officials at the lowest level. And it's a part of a big conspiracy in which the officers, the BJP ministers, employees, their cadre, all are involved in this.
When confronted with these allegations and the gravity of the scam, Shivraj Singh Chouhan, who's eyeing another stint as Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister, brushed it under the carpet.
कहीं अगर कोई कमी होती है तो हाँ, नरेगा में भी हम चेक करते हैं और चेक करके जहाँ गड़बड़ हुई हमने खुद कार्रवाई की, लेकिन निचले स्तर तक नरेगा का पैसा जाता है और इसलिए उसकी मॉनिटरिंग और बेटर कैसे करें हम लोग, भारत सरकार भी इसके बारे में सोचे और राज्य सरकार और कैसे, हम लगातार सोचते रहें कि और बेहतर कैसे करें। अब हम तो सीधे पैसा उनके अकाउंट में भेजने का काम करते हैं, आजकल सीधे अकाउंट में पैसा जाता है। भारत सरकार ने भी ये पहल की है, हमने सिस्टम को और पारदर्शी बनाने का काम किया है, लेकिन इसके बाद भी अगर कहीं कोई गड़बड़ करता है तो उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करते हैं।
According to the Act, the central government has no administrative control over the implementation of the MNREGA. The only way it can reprimand a state government for corruption is by cutting off funds, a step the centre shies away from, fearing unpopularity at the grassroots level.
So Headlines today has accessed data from the RTI from your ministry that points at a multi-crore rupee scam operating under the NREGA in Madhya Pradesh. Are you aware of such a scenario?
Well, we receive complaints from time to time from various quarters. I'm not surprised that you have unearthed some malfeasance. And whenever such instances are brought to our notice, we ask for a report from the state government. Then we send our own independent teams. They prepare a report. This whole process takes about 3 months. And then the responsibility for taking action, according to our federal scheme of things, is with the state government. But if you have established something from the ground, then I think that should be taken very seriously, and we will take it up very seriously.
And have you ever considered cutting off supply of funds to states?
No, I don't think that's a wise policy. That's not a wise policy. Cutting off the funds when we receive complaints, it penalizes everybody in the state. There is good work that is going on under Mahatma Gandhi Mnrega as well. Unlike the efforts of channels like Headlines today to show that this program is nothing but corruption and scam, that's not true. I want to categorically say this, that there's a lot of good work that has gone on under Mnrega. Agricultural wages have gone up, community assets have been built. I would lay greater stress on independent facts ascertained from ground level truthing of the type that you are saying that you have done. And certainly we'll take these complaints very seriously, but we'll have to ask this first. We have what is called an SOP, a standard operating procedure, We asked the state government for their comments within a certain space.
So will you be seeking their comments now?
Yeah, sure. We'll give them a specified time period. We'll ask for their comments. Then we send a team. We don't take their comments at their face value. We send a team, depending on the magnitude of the malfeasance that is involved. We send a team. The team will submit its report. We share that report with the state government. We ask for their comments in the action taken report for these diversions.
So in cases where scams worth crores are recovered, would your government consider ordering a CBI inquiry?
No, we cannot order a CBI inquiry. The only place where a CBI inquiry has been ordered is Odisha, and that is because we were directed by the courts to have the CBI inquiry. I have been asking for a CBI inquiry in Uttar Pradesh for the last 15 months, and the Uttar Pradesh government, first under Mayawati, later against Akhilesh Yadav, has not given us the permission. Under the CBI Act, the Delhi Police Establishments Act, which governs the functioning of the CBI, the concurrence of the state government is absolutely essential before we order a CBI inquiry.
So the state government also needs to be on board with the idea of ordering an inquiry.
They are not only just on board, they have to give their assent. I have written to the UP government as an example. I have not got any positive response for 15 months. So I cannot unilaterally order a CBI inquiry. It has to be done with the assent and concurrence of the state government.
With elections around the corner, politicians are getting into the campaign mood. But hard questions remain for both the BJP and the Congress. Will the lotus continue to blossom in a land which has robbed the poor of a basic right? Or will the hand wipe away their worries and usher in a new beginning? The voters are watching.
The people of Madhya Pradesh are not asking for much, just a basic right that the government claims to have given to them. Yet the ground realities that Headlines Today has acquainted you with tell a story of neglect, apathy and blatant corruption. We wonder how proud the Mahatma would have been to have his name associated with a promise which is far from being fulfilled.